So good afternoon to all those of you who have arrived. I believe you all know me, but my name is Sandra, and you have arrived at a gentle yoga class. So we have the next 30 minutes together. Anybody have any needs for today's class? Any requests?
My mid back along the spine has been like alternating sides, which side wants to be tight that day. So anything to help stretch that out would be great.
Okay, you said mid-back, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's around the rib cage area. So we'll do a lot of twisting for that, as well as some lateral flexion, which will help that whole region. All right, great request. So when you are ready, I will invite you to make your way to your mat and take a moment to arrive in your most comfortable space, whether it's lying on your back, seated, child's pose. So any variation where you can close your eyes. Enjoy a few moments for self. With your next inhalation, draw awareness back into your present moment, back into your physical space. And as we exhale, or as you feel ready, let's gently hug both knees in towards the chest. Inviting a few low back circles one direction. And gently reverse. Opening your arms up like a T. And as you exhale, let's release our knees over to our right. 3 or 4 deeper breaths. And as you inhale, let's return to center. As you exhale, releasing your knees to your other side. 3 or 4 deeper breaths. And as you inhale, let's return to center. And as we exhale, let's cross our right ankle over left knee. Interlace those fingers, reach those palms up and overhead. And we're going to release those legs over to the left, just as they are. Reaching outer edge of right knee towards inner edge of left ankle bone. So this is a great stretch for the right side of the spine, along with that outer hip. So I invite you to take some deeper breaths into right rib cage and specifically try to reach that lowest right rib towards the floor. That will give us a little bit of extra stretch to those muscles of the rib cage, that mid-back region. And as we inhale, let's return to center. As we exhale, we're going to completely cross that right knee over the left. So our two knees are now stacked. You can either remain here if this is plenty, or with an exhalation, you can hug those stacked knees in towards the chest. Or option number 3 would be to flex the feet and gently separate lower legs. And let's invite that left foot back down to the floor if it's not currently there. Interlace those fingers, reach those palms up and overhead. We're going to shift our hips a little bit over to the right. Exhale as we drop our knees over to the left. So this should be a much deeper spinal twist than the previous twist, with our legs adducted or knees crossed over one another. And again, we're breathing into the whole length of the spine. As we inhale, let's return those legs to center. Shift our hips back to center. As we uncross our legs, we're going to widen those feet to about mat width apart or wider. We're going to flex the feet and then allow both knees to drop over to the right. So this will create that stretch for the left side. And let's inhale those legs back to center. Walk those feet back to hip width apart and extend both legs long on the floor. On an exhalation, we're going to walk those hands and feet over to left side of the mat, making that big C-shaped curve with the body. So we're creating some lateral flexion for our spine, breathing into that right side body. For those of you that want to intensify, you can cross right ankle over left, flex the feet, resist the 2 feet against each other, outer edges. And to create a little bit more resistance in that upper body, grabbing onto right wrist and drawing it a little bit further over to the left. So you can choose one of those options, both of those options, or neither of those options. As we inhale, let's carefully return to center. Bending our knees, placing feet back on the floor. Keeping those fingers interlaced up and overhead as we cross our left ankle over right knee. And on an exhalation, we're going to drop those legs over to your right, reaching outer edge of left knee towards inner edge of right ankle bone. We're trying to reach left shoulder and left hip away from each other to create that not only a twist, but that lateral flexion and lengthening in the left side of the spine. And let's inhale as we draw those legs back to center. And as we exhale, we're going to completely cross that left knee over the right. 2 knees are now stacked. You can either remain here, hug stacked knees in towards the chest, or option 3 would be to flex the feet and gently separate those lower legs. let's carefully release that right foot back down to the floor if it's not currently there. Interlace those fingers, reach those palms up and overhead. We will shift our hips a little bit over to the left in order to exhale and drop knees over to the right. Nice deep spinal twist here. Keep breathing into the full length of your torso. Your inhalations are helping your rib cage to expand outward. Your exhalations are inviting softness of the rib cage. So that's going to help release those muscles back and front body that are in the rib cage area. The deeper you can do the breathing while twisting, the more releases that may occur. And as you inhale, let's return knees to center. Shift our hips back to center. Uncross the knees so we can widen those feet, mat width apart. And we're going to drop knees over to your left. So we want to think of reaching the right heel of the hand away from right sits bone and right knee, creating that extra lengthening component for right side body. As we inhale, let's return to center, extending both legs long on the floor. And as we exhale, we're going to walk hands and feet over to right side of the mat, stretching out left side body. Trying to pull that lowest left rib down towards the floor. Invite a little bit deeper of a stretch. And of course, for intensity, you can cross left ankle over right, flex the feet, resist the 2 feet against each other, and or grabbing onto that left wrist and drawing it further over to the right. As you inhale, let's carefully return to center. And as you exhale, hugging knees to armpits, coming into any variation of happy baby, rocking, or stationary. And with your next exhalation, hugging knees to chest as we roll to our right hand side and make our way to all fours. Absolutely no rush arriving here. Taking your time. And whenever you do arrive, I'll invite you to begin to flow with cat and cow. Exhales are curling your spine towards ceiling, while your inhales are curling your spine towards floor. Next, your spine evens out, no rush, we'll meet you back in center. So we're going to come into a side plank modification or a side Vashisthasana. So we're going to begin to place our weight into the left hand and left knee. If there's wrist issues, you can come up on that left fist. And we'll all start by placing that right hand on right hip. Remember, our hips and our chest are open. So there's lots of variations, but the one I'm going to choose today is keeping that right foot on the floor. And with the right foot on the floor, we're going to try to root down through the outer edge of the right foot. So the ball mount of the pinky toe and outer edge of the heel. So for some of us, we may be getting plenty of stretch here in that right side body. For others, if you want to add a little bit more intensity, you would bring that right arm next to right ear. And so much so that maybe you're trying to curve the torso down Keeping our chest and hips open, trying to reach that right hand to the floor. Not that it will get there, but directionally, we want that big arch in the side of the right body to create that nice deep stretch. Make sure the navel is drawn towards the spine. There is an option for those of you that maybe can keep the chest open. You can place the forearm on the floor or a brick and still keep that nice extension. Now let's exhale. Carefully make our way back to all fours. Once you arrive back in all fours, just take a brief moment to close the eyes. Notice the extreme difference in the two sides of the body. And carefully we'll begin to shift our weight into the right hand and right knee. So we'll start by opening up the hip. Left hand on left hip so the chest is open. Make sure you're grounding through the left foot, specifically down into the ball mound of the pinky toe in the outer edge of that left heel. And then if you want to add that extra intensity, you can extend left arm next to left ear. Trying to reach those left fingertips down towards the floor. At the same time, you're rooting through that outer edge of the left foot, keeping our chest open, our shoulders open, breathing deeply into left side body. A slight scooping of the tailbone will also deepen this stretch for you while protecting the back and strengthening our pelvic floor. Another full deep breath here. And then on an exhalation, let's release that left hand to the floor. Left knee comes back to the floor. And as you exhale, let's sit back into Balasana, child's pose. And once you arrive there, I'm going to have you scoop that right arm underneath the left armpit. Settle a minute into the shoulder. And then for those of you that want to add a little extra depth, that left arm is extended. And we're trying to reach those left fingertips towards right side of the mat while keeping the left sits bone releasing back. As you inhale, returning everything to center. And as you exhale, we're going to scoop that left arm underneath right armpit. Right arm is extended. You can come up onto the tips of those right fingertips so the palm, wrist, and elbow are drawn away from the floor. And then to add the depth, you can walk those fingertips, the right fingertips, over to left corner of the mat. So the right fingertips are reaching away from the right sits bone. So keep that right sits bone grounded. That's what will give you the stretch in that right side body. And as we inhale, let's return to center. Carefully curling those toes under, and we're going to shift into downward facing dog. We haven't done a lot with hamstrings yet today during this practice, so some of us may want to keep those knees deeply bent because hamstrings are super duper tight. And if you're keeping that option, make sure those sits bones still stay nice and high. Your weight is still shifted back, whether legs are more bent or extended. And with your next exhalation, we're going to bring that right leg through into a lunge. Take a moment to find your stability. Once you have it, let's inhale up. And as we exhale, we're going to open up into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So thinking about the outer edge of that left foot, grounding, rooting deeply. As we exhale, releasing that right forearm to right thigh. Make sure our scapula are squeezing together, our shoulder blades, so the chest is opening up towards the sky. And let's extend through left arm. And even here, if we want to try to slightly reach those left fingertips towards the floor as we're rooting out through the outer edge of left foot to get that little extra stretch, scooping that tailbone under. As we exhale, let's release those hands to the floor. And as we inhale, stepping back to dog. On an exhalation, we're going to bring the left leg through into a lunge. Inhale as you come up. Exhale as we open up into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Take a brief moment here in Vira 2 and think of lifting up through the rib cage, away from the hips. So we got some nice length to work with, and then as you exhale, we're going to release that left forearm to left thigh while rooting down through the outer edge of that right foot. Right hand can be on hip, or if you're looking for a little bit extra, you can extend right arm next to right ear, and so much so that maybe you start to open up the chest a bit more and round the right fingertips towards the floor. So we're getting that nice stretch for right side body. As we exhale, let's release those hands down to the floor. And as you inhale, stepping back into downward facing dog. As you exhale, we're going to lower back into Balasana, child's pose. And on an inhalation, let's make our way to seated. So we are going to come into Janu Shirshasana, a different variation than we traditionally do. So traditionally, our straight leg is right in front of us, and we're more like in tree legs. And this time, I want the left leg extended, coming out as far to the left as comfortable, and the right knee bent. We're going to take a moment, sit. You'll have to forgive all the icicles that are falling, and my dog starts barking every time. Sorry about that. All right, so we want to keep this right sits bone deeply rooted, grounding downward. And on an exhalation, we're going to hinge over your extended leg. So this is a nice stretch for the QL muscle, which can hold a lot of tension in the back body between the sacrum and the ribs, and will also help to elongate up into that mid-back region. So that can be, the QL muscle can be a muscle that's pulling, which creates that tension in the rib cage area of the back body. So while we're stretching this, make sure sits bone is rooted and we're reaching those fingertips towards the toes. As we inhale, let's return to center. Just take a brief moment to notice this right side may feel a bit more spacious. You may feel taller on the right side than the left currently. And then we'll switch sides. So your right leg extends. Left knee bends into that half reclined butterfly. Of course, you can add any height under your bottom, under that straight knee, or under the bent knee. Everybody sits up nice and tall. Think about squeezing the shoulder blades together first. And then, as we exhale, we're going to hinge over right leg. So remember, we still want to keep our chest opening up towards the sky. And we're reaching those left fingertips as far as from left sits bone as possible to create that nice stretch and length for the side body. And again, specifically that QL muscle, which can hold the initial tension to the upper back, or excuse me, the middle back. Another full deep breath here. And as we inhale, we'll arrive back in center. And let's carefully come into a comfortable cross-legged seated posture for your body. Whatever that may be, whether legs are crossed on top and bottom of each other or front and back, we'll all sit up nice and tall. And then on an exhalation, you can hinge forward. Remember, your hinge may be just dropping the chin towards the chest, or it may be hinging forward on top of your dog if she won't leave you alone. And then taking this opportunity, wherever you're hinged forward, walking your hands over to the right side as far as they'll go, keeping the left sits bone grounded. And so again, stretching that QL muscle in a slightly different manner, breathing. And then gently, we're going to walk those hands back to center and off to your other side. So I believe for most of us, it should be the left side. And when those fingertips are on the left side, that right sits bone remains rooted, giving you the maximum amount of stretch. So remember, we're breathing, utilizing the inhalation to provide the length in that space in the back, and the exhalation to find softness. As you inhale, we'll return to center. Carefully make our way back up as we invite those hands to arrive in heart center. And enjoying 3 deeper breaths, your pace, allowing your physical body to settle from your practice. So I invite you, if you do have the time, take a Shavasana for yourself, 5 to 10 minutes. Otherwise, have an absolutely wonderful day. Namaste. And I look forward to seeing you all next week.